The Mandela Effect, for those of you who are new to the term, is a phenomenon where large groups of people have the same false memory. Whether it be historic events happening differently from how we remember them, or how some brands look and are spelled. Or even in some cases, people remember the world map looking differently. In specific, how the continents are aligned. And it all started when people thought that Nelson Mandela had died 30 years before. To understand the Mandela Effect more, you can look at my previous video about the subject. It's in Arabic, and I captioned it in English. For those of you who might disagree with me, I'm stating my personal opinions about the matter and how I see it. So basically, I'm giving my 2 cents. That's all. So please don't be offended. There's nothing wrong with people having different points of view. And please, don't be too nasty with the comments. So here we go. To put this simply, I blame this phenomenon on 2 psychological conditions, one being confabulation and the other being cognitive dissonance. To begin, confabulation, according to Wikipedia, is a memory error defined as the production of fabricated, distorted, and misinterpreted memories about oneself or the world, without the conscious intention to deceive. And people suffering from confabulation are generally very confident about their recollections, despite contradictory evidence. In extreme cases of confabulation, doctors would name reasons such as patients denying health and mental conditions, or Alzheimer's, schizophrenia, and even traumatic brain injuries. But the truth of the matter is that, as humans, we simply forget things over time, especially if the memory is not retrieved nor rehearsed over time. Sometimes new memories occur that interfere with older ones. In my personal experience, my parents, after roughly 30 years of marriage, argued about the colors of their wedding photo. Similar to that, many people around the world thought that Nelson Mandela had died almost 30 years earlier. Although no one in South Africa had the same memory, probably because they were closer to the real events surrounding Mandela himself. This means that people who witness the same event will experience it differently based on their own perception, and both perception and memory can deceive. I always thought that Toons in the term Looney Tunes was spelled with a double O, because I thought Toons was short for cartoons. That was my logic, as was the logic of so many people out there. I also thought that Kit Kat was spelled with a hyphen, because when I learned English grammar, I was taught that hyphens are most often used to show connections between words that are working as a unit. For example, you might see adjectives like well-intentioned, or to spell certain words like email. I might sound old for saying this, but the first TV I watched was in black and white. That's how I watched all TV shows as a kid, from Sesame Street to Laurel and Hardy.
Well, here's another nice mess you've gotten me into.
So remembering the Kennedy assassination in black and white shouldn't be a surprise. And the fact that we thought that there were 4 people in the car rather than 6 is simply because the scene in documentaries was always zoomed in to show JFK and Jackie. So we only can see the 2 Secret Service agents sitting in the middle of the car. I don't have all the answers. There are many areas of the Mandela Effect that I cannot answer, simply because I am not an expert, nor claim to be one. Although I sometimes believe in conspiracy theories, I do not believe in superstition at all, especially not time travel, nor multi-universes colliding. I simply refuse to believe it. This denial may relate to my second point regarding memory, which is cognitive dissonance. In the Mandela Effect, cognitive dissonance is when people simply refuse to believe the truth. Many people I know are very proud of their education, so proud that anything stated that contradicts what they have learned is absolutely unacceptable. Personally, as a teen, I remember enjoying assignments that involved drawing maps of different parts of the world. So when you tell me that the location of Australia has changed on the world map, I could definitely argue that it hasn't. How dare you question my education and my memory? In the field of psychology, cognitive dissonance is a mental discomfort experienced by a person who holds 2 or more contradictory beliefs, ideas, or values. This comfort is triggered by a situation in which a person's belief clashes with new evidence perceived by the person that opposes what they already know. I remember when I had to draw the Australian map as homework. The distance between Australia and New Zealand was relative, and these assignments helped us remember maps and different parts of the world. How I would explain the Mandela effect here is that technology and satellite images have improved greatly in the past 25 years, whether it was the quality of the images or their accuracy. So it is very normal that maps today look better and more precise, and there is no reason to panic over it. The same goes for Volkswagen. I was a Volkswagen Beetle fan. However, I remember always staring at the shape of the car rather than the logo. So what if it's different than what I remembered? It's still a Mandela effect. Regarding memory, one person may have actually learned Bernstein Bears and gone their whole life believing it to be true. Another person may have learned Bernstein correctly, but decades later remember and believe it to be Bernstein. Both people are experiencing the same Mandela effect, but the experience of each is due to a different cause. When eyewitnesses to a crime give different statements, they were all there at the crime scene, but somehow they saw and heard things differently. There's a lot to consider here. Their mental and emotional state, the power and strength of their senses, their distance from the event, and the list goes on. Speaking of which, there are some Mandela effect situations that have nothing to do with confabulation nor cognitive dissonance. For one, why do so many people have the same wrong memory? It beats me. It's a Mandela effect whether or not anything changed at all. No matter what paranormal or magical reason a person wishes to believe is the cause of it, it's a Mandela effect. All the same if someone simply confabulates it with another topic or doesn't remember. So long as a large group of people remember something to be different than we know to be true, it's a Mandela effect. No matter what the person believes is responsible for causing it. I hope I didn't upset you too much with my ideas, and I said this before and I'll say this again, that these are my opinions alone. But I just wanted to share my thoughts and put them out there. Tell me what you think, whether you agree or disagree, in the comments below. I'm curious to hear what you have to say about this. Thank you.